Yes, that's right, Stu. I am a sexy boy. Oh, sorry, didn't see you there. Hear you there. Who knows, it's a podcast. Welcome to the MHG podcast. It's episode 99. And we are about to do our final Game of the Year list. And I tell you what, just something a little bit extra. Like an 80s TV show, the intros are brilliant. The rest of the content, so-so. So this week, I'm joined by the littlest hobo. It's Stu. How you doing, Stu?
Well, I might be the littlest hobo, but I am part of a crack commando unit, so, you know, that makes me feel a little bit better. But, yeah, I actually used to love the littlest hobo. That was a great programme. But let's...
Was it, though? I watched it a few years ago again, because I thought, I always loved the intro. You know, there's a voice that keeps on calling me down the road. That's where I'll always be. You know, absolutely brilliant. It's a stone cold classic. And then I watched a couple of episodes. I downloaded them, and it's not aged well. It's not aged all that well. In fact, a lot of things from the 80s haven't aged that well.
No, that's very, very true. Let's not be nostalgic.
Factorism.
But it's the most wonderful time of the year, and that does include watching a load of old stuff from your past, I find. But yes. There's actually some decent stuff on telly this year, and I'm quite well geared up for Christmas and quite excited now. Are you feeling the Christmas buzz?
Well, I promised this year that I would get into it a bit more, and so I have been. I've been less miserable. Really weirdly, like I think I said it on the podcast last year, the best Christmas was last year, I think, because everyone else was miserable. Everyone else was having my Christmas. So I had a great Christmas because everyone else was having the Christmas I usually have. But no, I kind of enjoyed last year, and I thought it was actually good to be happy and stuff like that. So a bit more effort. We've been doing the elf in a shelf crap. But on the whole, we've been into it a bit more this year. I still won't wear a hat.
Oh, no.
That could go, that's something that could go die in a fire.
Straight in the bin. Yeah.
And I don't waste money on Christmas jumpers because you wear them once.
I've got one. I've got one I was given, but I'm like a really warm person. Like, you know, not just warm-hearted, listeners, because I am that as well. But no, I can't really wear warm stuff. And if I put a Christmas jumper on, I literally cook quicker than the turkey. So I've got one, but I practically never wear it.
See, part of me goes, if I got one, I'd want to get like an ironic gaming one or something like that. So like a Sonic Christmas jumper or a Zelda one. But then part of me goes, I'm only going to wear it in the flat.
Yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah.
I wear a coat when I go out in the winter. Why? Christmas coats, that's what we need. Don't do that.
Oh, no, that's a really good idea.
No, it's not. No. Because then there'll be Christmas coat day, and you'd have to wear a Christmas coat, get the kids a Christmas coat for school. We go, you don't get into Christmas. No. Okay, I'm just getting into the spirit of it and stuff like that at the moment. Okay, doing Elf on the Shelf, baby steps. We're not having Christmas coats.
No, true. And also, come January the 1st, you take your Christmas coat off, and then you be getting ready for Easter and putting on your bunny merchandise or whatever. So, yeah, no, too commercial these days. I like it when it's just, in the family, doing rubbish, eating too much.
I like the commercial side where people go, it's about Jesus and the Lord. Oh, it's not. No, right? It's about the commercialism. The sooner we realise that, the better. It will be more fun. But yeah, I don't it's like Christmas dinner. We're not having a Christmas dinner. We went and bought a bunch of party food from Iceland, and we'll just have some of that and make that last a couple of days.
I really like your Christmas plan. It's always really good.
Yeah, we used to go for a Chinese, but the buffet shut down because of COVID.
Yeah.
And never reopened again, so that's out. Because I've refused to go to the Toby Carvery and pay 75 to 85 quid for a meal that usually costs 12 quid.
Oof, definitely not. It's not worth that money. Although they're nice, they're not worth that money.
It depends where you get your potatoes. Sometimes I've had some really horrible potatoes out of there. You want to get you've got to time it right, and I can't be asked with that Christmas Day.
I have been blatted by a rock hard potato at those places before. Yeah, it does happen.
I like a crunchy out, a soft inner. I don't like soft out, a hard inner, or soft and both, or too hard always, or burnt. No, got to get it right. You got to get there right. Can't be asked with that Christmas Day. And if I'm paying 85 quid for a meal, I expect perfect roast potatoes every time, and they're not going to do that.
Quite right.
So this year's roast of the year.
Roast of the year. So we do our top 10s. So at number 10 is the
bean roast.
Go on, off you go.
Yeah. Right, so yeah, talking of roasts and top tens and whatever. It's game of the year, Stu. It's game of the year.
I know, right?
Now, what's really good about this, we've both been playing the same game this week, and I believe this same game gets into both our top tens for the year.
Maybe.
Yeah. So, but before we do go into the top 10, because I'm really, really prepared. I'm always really prepared, you see. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put up my list picture.
Yeah.
Couple of honourable mentions from me. And if any of these appear in your top 10, obviously we'll go into detail when we hit our top 10s. But Solitaire Conspiracy, Toem, Monster Train, Art of Rally, Chernobylite, Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, Nuts, and Inscription. All fantastic games. Just missed out on my top 10. Check them out if you get a chance.
Sounds good. And from my side, I would say Unpacking, which I have not had chance to unpack very much. But
I've not had any chance to play that because it's too bright.
Oh, yeah. But I played it a little bit and I like what I played, but I just haven't had time to really go into it. Horatio Goes Snowboarding, which is very simple,
yes,
but very fun.
Just got a Switch release this week as well, by the way.
Oh, right.
Today,
Oh, there we go.
As of recording, it's just come out. So lovely Christmas present for people. There, get it.
Yeah, I mean, let's not get everyone's hopes up too much. It's not like a game changer, ironically.
No. I enjoyed it on the Switch, and they made some good accessibility updates from the first release to where it is now. So try it. No, we're not going to go too long. Try it. I like that game. It's a really good game from a very small team.
True, and also Death's Door. I wanted to shout out as my least liked but best played. So
yes,
is a game that I don't, just didn't click with me at all. But I would, in a really weird turnaround, it's one of those that I would heartily recommend anyone who's into that kind of exploration action game, sort of Zelda-like, that has an underlying Souls-like core to it. I don't, but people do, and if you do, don't sleep on this one. Get it straight away.
I really want it. I really want that one, but
I think you'd like it.
Not yet. Into the new year, maybe. Into the new year, I might get it. Or when it's, I don't want to get it when it's on. Well, I will get it when it's on a sale. But it's the one I look at it and go, I'd quite happily pay full price for that. I just can't at the moment.
Yeah.
So in the new year, I'm definitely that'll probably be towards next year's game of not this year type one.
Yeah. And the last two. R-Type Final 2, which I was disappointed by, but in retrospect, it's a solid shooter, and if you like horizontal shooters, buy it. And Flynn, Son of Crimson, which most people, anyone who's got Game Pass can play, and is a really, really, really good platform action game, and only just missed out on my top 10. So there you go.
Yeah, some really good games in there on both our lists. If you only played the games in our honourable mentions, you could form a pretty solid game of the year list on their own. So can't wait to see what we've got in our list. I bet they're all agreeable and everyone loves them.
Yeah, right.
So you could go first, Stu, because traditionally you go first with what you've been playing. So you could hit with the first number 10.
Cool, yeah. Well, my number 10 is a game that won't be controversial. And just one sad note, and then the rest of the podcast is going to be completely, upbeat about stuff. But it is disappointing that you're not, during sort of conversation online, you're not really just allowed to genuinely love something unless everybody else loves it. There's a lot of stuff where you kind of, if it's a popular game, it does tend to get knocked down because people want to feel, I don't know, like they're in control or that they're, cleverer or more intelligent than you, whatever. And that doesn't always happen, but it happens too much for my liking. I find it a bit, that's a bit sad. But it doesn't happen to smaller games, and most of our favourites are smaller games, and that's great. And one of them that has had no negative feedback whatsoever is my number 10, which is Natsuki Chronicles, and that's a side-scrolling shoot 'em up. It beat R-Type Final 2 out of the list, and it's just a really, really good game. It doesn't take horizontal shooters anywhere really new or special, but what it does do, it has really brilliant mechanics. It's really sharp. What's so important with these types of games is that they feel impactful and entertaining and instantly grab you, and the minute you jump on them, they're fun right from the off. And it has that in spades, and it's a really, really good new IP in the shooter genre, and I'd heartily recommend it. Definitely worthy of my top 10. And there it is.
How anime is it?
Not very. It has little anime windows, they pop up with people, but they don't have any dodgy anime stuff whatsoever. It's all bright, colourful, childlike, very good for the family, that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, so see, I'm not on about hentai, right? I'm not on about that side of if someone sees me playing this on the bus anime, that needs to be categorised somewhere else. But is it like very like flashy and sort of like over the top type stuff, or is it grounded?
It's more grounded. It's traditional. It's done in the traditional style. I would say that it's kind of visual touch points of things like Border Down and Airbuster, which is an old one, a really old one that most people won't know.
Yeah.
Those two are the kind of, like, it's got a lot of good red, green, yellow, red, orange, yellow separation. It's one of those that has a good colour scheme. So that all, like, loads of stuff is kind of on one side of the spectrum and loads of other stuff is on the other, and it's really easy to visually navigate it. So, yeah, no, it's not crazy anime, way over the top, can't see what's going on, flashy. It's just attractively presented in a traditional way.
Excellent. Yeah, no, I think I've had a look at it before, but it's not quite. Again, I'm not very good at them, so it's one I'll pick up if it hits a really cheap sale or Game Pass or anything like that.
Yeah,
but yeah, it does look good, and it looks like if you're a fan of the genres, then definitely one to try out
for sure.
So my one, I want you to tell me if this is a AAA game, because if it is, it's the only AAA game that's made it into my list.
Okay,
but I'm not 100% sure it counts as AAA, even though it's from one of the biggest publishing houses, whatever, out there, one of the most well-known companies. But it's Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Ooh. Yeah, no, I don't think it is a trip. Oh, I don't know. How do you class these things?
It's niche, isn't it? It's a niche. It's not even a game.
Yeah.
But, so for me, with this, I put this on for a couple of reasons and put it in there. One, it was just spectacular to play, and it's one of the games I looked at and just went, we are blurring the lines. Virtual tourism is, we spoke about this last week, I think. Virtual tourism done in Microsoft Flight Simulator is spectacular. I've done things in that game I will never do in my life. I'm not one of those who can go on a gap year and visit, Rio de Janeiro, visit like the Alps and stuff like that. I can't go and do that. But in Microsoft Flight Simulator, I can. And in some of the more well-known places, you can fly close to the ground in photorealistic maps and stuff like that. And the modding community are making it even better. And it's just amazing. And then you started hearing the stories of people who, like, one of the most beautiful stories I heard was data shows that the first place people went to in Microsoft Flight Simulator was home.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And I just went, do you know what? That's beautiful.
It is.
That's what gaming can do. And I haven't played it for a good number of months. Again, Vision and other stuff to play. But getting my flight stick out and taking a long haul flight and just relaxing is just, it's an experience. And I loved my time with it. And I will go back into it. I'm just scared of getting it updated. That's about the only negative I can say about Flight Sim. Can we utilise the cloud data a bit more to stop the massive patches every other week?
Yeah.
But when you're in it, it's such an experience. Amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And it's a technical showcase. And I would go as far, and this is a big step. It's a big step. But I would say it's one of the wonders of the modern world that should be put into a museum to show what humans can achieve, because there is nothing negative in it. It's just a wonderful experience of, technical skill, of artistry, beauty, mechanics, just everything that you would need, everything that human beings can do that is exceptional, shoved into one package. And I can give even an example of this to illustrate. So me and my wife took my mum up to my sister's in Ilkley last weekend so she can spend Christmas there. And we were chatting about, the chat came onto games because my nephew's really into games now, which is great.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I can't remember why, that's right, we were talking about our earliest gaming experiences, and my wife's partner, one of his was Flight Simulator. And I was like, oh, well, have you seen the new one? And he hadn't. So I stuck a video on YouTube, and like the entire family were blown away, even the one's not into games. They were just like, is this a game? I was like, yep. This is a game. This is where we are now. And I just think it's just phenomenal. And I think anyone that you show it to can't help but be delighted by it.
Yeah, and I've said before when we first started talking about this, when it first came out, I think I said to you that this should be brought into schools and used for educational purposes.
Yes.
I say a video I saw was someone who explained how lift and drag and everything worked by setting the weather settings custom with a plane on a runway, set the weather settings, the wind settings, everything, and showed that you could get a plane off the ground and flying without having to use the runway properly because of physics and stuff like that. It's like, you'd have showed me that at school like that.
Yeah.
Everyone would have paid attention. Because there you go, right, so can you do that? Show them what can be done and go, right, what do you think you need to do to recreate this? And get the kids working in teams to recreate that on Microsoft Flight Simulator. And the other thing that really blew me away was we played it once and we decided to fly around Chelmsford on it. Don't know why. It's just like, it's fly a bit around Chelmsford. It was pissing down in Chelmsford. It was pissing down in the game. And then it stopped raining. And within, I want to say, 10 minutes... not even that, it stopped raining in the game.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, wow. And sort of like, so we went, sort of like, me and Lucas stood it, and went like, I wonder if like it's just because the rain's moved or whether it has just stopped raining. So we kind of banked around, came back and flew further out of Chelmsford. And then you kind of fly into the rain.
Yeah.
It's like, it's Jesus.
I know.
So you could use it again for learning weather patterns and stuff. It's such an amazing tool. But I'm not going to go into it because we spoke about how games can be used for education without actually being crappy educational games. And yeah, it's just, a Microsoft Flight Simulator is amazing. It really is. It's set a new standard for what a simulator can and should be.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think in an era when people are very sort of happy to challenge, science, unfortunately, I think it's a really, really good tool to go, okay, well, we'll show you what the real world is like and how these things actually work. And you can get into a base level of understanding of something so important, about geography, size, scale, distance, weather, all sorts, just from a game that is effectively free. So, yeah.
And to be honest, the anti-vaxxers should love it because it's the only chance they're getting to go to Spain this year or next.
Yeah. It's the anti-Brexit game because you can actually...
Oh, yeah.
The anti-Brexit game because you can actually go somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Without a passport. We can free travel.
But yeah, at number 9, I have the Solitaire Conspiracy. And very... deserving of its place, I think, because it is a champion of a great idea. And it's just landed where it should be. On the Switch is its perfect home, even though, like you said, you need to make sure you use the accessibility options to be able to see it properly. Sometimes, even in my case, I spent most of the time zoomed in. I just found it easier. But that was in there. And from it's one guy basically, and it's just pure expression and ideas thrown down in a really short space of time to create something very, very pure and really, really good fun. And it's a champion of ideas, and it's a really excellent game in and of itself.
Yeah, 100%. The only reason it's not in my top 10 is, this is going to be some hypocrisy with some of them you hear from me later, is that I played it last year. I absolutely loved it. I rinsed it last year. And I played it again this year just because I could.
Yeah.
And that's why it got an honourable mention, just not into my top 10. It's an absolutely fantastic game. Greg Miller, absolutely top performance. Out of nothing. I was not expecting that. But yeah, it's really, yeah, it's such a well-made, well-crafted game. But what else can you expect from Mike Biffle? In all fairness, it's outstanding. It's brilliant. Everything about it. If you've not tried it, pick it up. It really is good.
It's one of those that it may take a while for people to understand how great it is, simply because a lot of people will go, well, it's not quite what I'm after. I'm not really into card games. Or on the other hand, they might go, oh, it's really quite short and I don't really want to spend the money. But it's like one of those little indie film hits where, you know, it grows and grows, and I hope it's going to be like that as well, and I'm sure it's probably done really well anyway. So yeah, if you've not played it already, you know, definitely pick it up. It's one of the highlights of the Switch this year.
Yeah, no, definitely. So my number 9 is, I'm guessing this will appear somewhere later, is Mini Motorways.
Very good.
Now, does it appear a bit later, or should I go into detail now?
It does not appear later. No, it is one of my honourable mentions, but it didn't end up in my top 10, unfortunately.
So I absolutely adored this. It's a sequel of sorts to Mini Metro, a game where basically you've got to... It's a strategic city builder, but as a puzzle game in a way. So basically what happens is you've got like different places you've got to get cars to, and they pop up on the map, and you've got to draw new routes, and then you get access to new roads or new types of roads or traffic lights, roundabouts, etc. And then that allows you to manage the traffic. It's a traffic management game in a way, but it's so done in such a way that it's so simplistic in terms of how it presents itself, that everything is focused towards you getting better at the game. So even when it gets really, really busy, you can still pause the game, watch what you're doing. By the way, the fact it lets you pause to check stuff, well done. Brilliant. Some games, when they do it, they pause it and they kind of like block the screen so you can't work out what you're doing. Don't do that. That's dumb. But anyway, lets you pause the game, lets you think. You can completely destroy it and rebuild it, and there's some little punishments for that, such as you've got to wait for cars to finish on their route and stuff like that before it starts demolishing the roads. But such a really good concept that once you've played it 2-3 times, you're in, and you just want to get better and better. Has, I think, it's about 8 different maps. It's got a daily challenge to it. Again, I'm going to promote this. Excellent accessibility options. You've got a normal mode and you've got a dark mode. Brilliant. Well done. Love it. Superb game.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It would have challenged my top 10 much harder if I'd had more time to play it again. Yeah. Oh, you know, so time limited. It's like this stuff is so cheap now that it's almost feels like it's free. It's the price of a cup of coffee or a little bit above sometimes. I bought this in a 2-pack with Mini Metro, and it was ludicrously cheap, under a tenner for both games, and it's easy to buy, hard to find the time to play. It's a great game, and it really, really would have been challenging at my top, I think, if I'd played it more. But what I think is really great with this stuff is it's that thing of that we keep championing of niche ideas coming to the fore. And I feel that in the bigger space, like very few of the kind of city builders ever, you could never really call them AAA, not unless they're like SimCity or City Skylines.
Even that I wouldn't call either of those AAA either.
No, they're not, are they? But even the big ones like that aren't even AAA, they kind of feel like they have to one-up each other, and they have masses of DLC and all of that, and none of them, like it's an arms race, and none of them will back down and do a more simple game. And it's taken a small studio to sort of take it back to, you're only going to have a handful of things, and that's going to make it, even with only a handful of things, it's going to be very, very complex and difficult, but in a good way. And they've done that with Mini Motorways.
Yeah, and it's the traffic management side of it, I think, is what most people want from certain city builders. There's a whole series on YouTube of a guy, I can't remember his name, and basically his whole stick on the thing is he does traffic management, and that's what he does, because that's what most people want. And the idea of that's it, and you just take everything else away from it, and it's a high score game, puzzle game, management game. Yeah, they've nailed it. And I still say, next up, mini airports.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure you'll bang on with that. Unless they go...
Mini harbours, that'll be another good one.
Mini harbours. Well, I was just going to say, you just read my mind again. You see, that's how in love we are. It's just,
Sorry, Bill.
I was going to say, if they don't do airlines, it'll be because they go, oh, we can't do that. Oh, Brad said it. Let's do mini shipping lanes. So, yeah, it'll either be shipping lanes or it'll be aircraft. And I think it'll probably be aircraft.
Yeah. Oh, can't do that. They've said that. Mini pedestrians. No, we've said that now.
Mini Mars. Building a new society on Mars. There you go.
Oh, yeah, I'd be well up for... Oh, my God. Mini space race. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Come on, let's get it on.
Nice.
You've got the next 5 years' worth of games there, guys. Off you go. Go make it.
We should get hired for this stuff. Go on, then. Go on, then. What's your next one?
No, it's yours. Yours number 8.
Oh, right. Yeah, it is. God, that's professional, isn't it? So my number 8 was a lovely little game that gets on the list for being lovely, and that is Omno.
Yes.
So, yeah, Omno is like a platformy puzzle game. It's got elements of Journey and elements of Eco, but then doesn't everything that's ever had some sort of traversal since Eco came out. Yeah. And, it's done in the... Oh God, I've blanked on the name now. But it's it's good. The game engine's lovely. It's very pretty. It's very simple. It edges towards just being like flat shaded polygons, but it's very colourful. And the puzzles are generally simple. It would have ended up actually in my top 5 if not for the fact that towards the end, I found there was a bit too much kind of like time-based puzzling and jumping around, and jumping was not the game's strong suit anyway. So I didn't actually complete it, and I think I was right at the end, and I was like, no, I'm out. So like 95% of the game I loved, and I didn't like the end, but that knocked it down a little. But there's so much to love in the game. It's got a generous heart. It's about a kind of, it's like Journey in that you are, on a journey. You're trying to find enlightenment or peace or beauty, and that there are there's a subset of games, a really tiny 0.1% of games that actually have that as their core concept, and this is one of them. And it's really gorgeous, lovely to play, handles really well. As I say, some of the jumping is a bit janky, but small studio. Other than that, really has a real heart to it, genuine, and I feel like it really deserves its place on the list.
Yeah, I've got to try and remember. I know it's mostly combat free. I can't remember if it was completely combat free or not.
Yes, it is combat free. Yeah.
Yes, it was. Right, because I know there's another one similar that was mostly combat free that came out, but had some combat in it. The one that was completely combat free. Do you know what? More combat free games, please.
Yes, I'm totally with you there. Totally with you. So games that would traditionally have fighting in them. Yeah, but just strip it out. Definitely.
Yeah. So that's a really great shout. Sometimes it's nice just to have a game that you just go, there's no reason other than it's lovely.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, really necessary. I think.
Yes, but I've got one a bit later that falls into that category, in my humble opinion. Anyway.
Awesome.
But next up, bit more of a challenge, is Circuit Superstars. It's a top-down racing game. Which seemed to be the new in thing, because obviously you've had Art of Rally, there's Rush Rally Origins come out on the Switch, there's Super Woden Grand Prix, which is top down, and now you've got Circuit Superstars, which is out in early access, and then it's still getting more done to it, even though it's got a proper release. It's coming to all the consoles later, but I played it on PC. It takes what is the original concept for me of Championship Sprint, and just builds out from there. So Championship Sprint I really liked. It was so simple, but you felt like you had to approach it still like an actual racer. It wasn't, even though it was arcade, you still had to consider like corners properly and stuff like that. And this does this, but obviously much bigger tracks, better graphics, things like that. And I just really, really like it. You've got time trials on it, you've got Grand Prix. They've always added new stuff. So they've just added an oval track with stock cars in it as well, so you got like proper like almost NASCAR. Haven't got that as a series in there yet. It's just as a single, like you could choose that as a single event. But I'm like, I want this now to become almost like the official game for all the different race series, because it's spectacular. And there's a Formula 1 driver, and I can't remember who it is. I want to say maybe Pierre Gasly, actually plays this game and is on the leaderboards and stuff like that as well.
Nice, excellent.
And he plays it for fun, which is really good, because I think it's good to see stuff like that. But yeah, it's a very simple concept, just done so well. And I wasn't expecting to have it on my list this year, because I thought it'd still be in early access for a while, so I was going to get away with not doing it. But yeah, it's out, it's on PC, absolutely brilliant. And because it comes out on consoles next year, I expect to see it next year as well on my list, because yeah, it's really good, and possibly the best racing game out this year, ahead of Forza Horizon 5 for me.
Definitely, yeah. That looks really great, and I not picked it up yet, but it's one of those that's on my list, and it does really do a lot. It's got that kind of Toontown, aesthetic, that is very. Oh, it's Moorish. It's like candy, It just draws you in, and it's like, oh, I want to play that, even if the game's jank. But it sounds like it's not.
No, the only thing I would ask, and this is just me, I would love that if anyone could mod it, modders could do this. I want to see him put the old championship sprint aesthetics on it, just for and giggles.
Oh, that'd be nice, yeah.
Because, but yeah, it's an amazing game, absolutely outstanding, and it's better than Art of Rally, and I loved Art of Rally, and I don't say that lightly.
Excellent. Yeah, no, I really am going to get that. So I'm assuming there's going to be a Switch port of this.
Yeah, so PS4 port comes out in January, and an Xbox port, I can't remember if it comes out with a PS4 port or a bit later, and then Q2 2022 is when they're aiming for the Switch port. So I reckon holidays next year after delays and stuff like that. But just get it right. I can wait. I've got it on the PC, so I'm happy to wait, and then I'll play it all over again.
Yes, I think it probably will take time to get right on Switch.
It's got pit stop strategies. I remember playing it and going, you can do pit stops, and it feels like you've got to play your pit stops properly as well, even though it's like, it's just got so many little levels. It looks so simple, but look, again, I'm going to talk about it properly another time, properly. But it's got so many levels to it. It's just, it's amazing. I'm gonna get squeakier than Jamie Carragher on a rant.
You are, yeah. Oh, while we're talking to Jamie Carragher, my wife's got a joke she always says whenever he's on, which is, I've got £1 on him.
Hey!
Do you remember?
I do remember that. When I love the fact that it was wrong, but if a fan's going to throw £1 at you on a football pitch, the ones that pocket it, that's always funny. But to have the balls to pick it up and launch it back at them, oh, beautiful.
Yes, indeed. Right then, do you want my next one?
Yes, I do, before I go off on a tangent about Jamie Carragher.
Yeah, it's probably for the best then. So, yes, at number 7, I have Guilty Gear Strive. And it's one of those that, like you mentioned when we were talking about it a little while back, it's kind of the fighting game community has its own kind of standards and the way that they talk about things and the way that they adopt things. And yeah, if you're outside of that, it can be a little bit difficult to know what's going on. I don't know whether it's been adopted by the community or not, but I just really enjoyed it, and I've not enjoyed a 3D fighter for quite some time, just for various reasons, one or the other. But this really brings something new to the table for me. I like its systems. I like all of its kind of like they've all got the specific names that I don't know, but like counters and limit breaks and all that sort of stuff. The way that you smash people through the wall and stuff like that. It's just really well put together. But honestly, have to say that 90% of the reason it's so high is because of the graphics. And again, we hardly ever really go on about graphics apart from when there's an aesthetic that we really like. But in terms of the ingenuity and just pure fun and stylishness of those anime visuals that it has, it's just a joy. It is like playing a cartoon. And the biggest compliment I can get is if you show like 7-year-old me this game and you said, that's a game, that's not animation, and you can play it and it's great, my head would literally have exploded. I would never have reached this age to play it because my head would have been everywhere and I'd have been dead. Yes. So yeah, it's a phenomenal looking game and great fun to play. So just deservedly there for me.
Yeah, I'm not very good. I've given it a go. I'm not very good at it. I'm rubbish at fighting games. But I love. I every now and again I see it popping up on a YouTube video, and I'm like, I'm just gonna watch that for 5 minutes, just because it's spectacular.
Yeah.
You could make. You could make an anime, like an actual like series based on that as a series, fighting series, and just use actual like people actually playing the. It'd be seamless between animation and gameplay. It'd be amazing.
Yeah. Yes, I know. I think we're going there to a degree. You know, I think we'll be there in a few years, and you can see.
Do you remember when the PlayStation 2 came out and they picked up the emotion engine? It'll be, you'll have an intro and then you won't realise it because the game's actually started and you'll be wondering why nothing's happening. But it's the graphics you get in the intro be what you actually play, and it kind of like never really got to that.
Yeah.
At that point, but now, but I don't think you could do that with hyper-realism, but with like the most impressive thing is we're getting games that look like actual cartoons. Like Cuphead is another one that just blows my mind that that's possible. And Guilty Gear is it is. I don't think I've ever seen animation that good in a video game before.
No, and for it to be as good as a lot of animation, you know, a lot of cartoony series that are out now, but be phenomenally better than most of the stuff that we grew up with. You know, and I know it's different because there's more backgrounds and there's, you know, facial animation and, you know, lip syncing and all that. But anyway, it's just gorgeous and it's wonderful and it deserves to be there just for being pretty.
Yes, definitely. Right, my number 7, and we changed to our regular scheduled program in this one because what I did have at number 7 a shot further up my list. And you'll find out what that is very soon. So at number 7 is the previous number 6. It's Spelunky 2.
Oh, hey, nice.
And I don't know what to say. I mean, you know Spelunky. Everyone knows Spelunky. Spelunky 2 is more of the same. Is it better than Spelunky? No. Is it worse? No. It's not better, it's not worse, it's just more Spelunky. Does a few different little things in it, and I'm still discovering loads with it. And I think, like you said with Omno, it's just a lovely game. This is just right in my... It's just one of those games that I could put on, play whenever. I don't care if I've not played it for months. I could just slip back into it like a glove. Honestly, I don't know what to say about it. Because it's Spelunky. And it's got a number 2 at the end, and it's brilliant.
Sometimes something's just such a classic, and you know, just fits so nicely that it just deserves to be there, just without argument. And I think that probably applies to Spelunky.
Yeah, I mean, what I'll do is before we go to your number 6, because this also fits in, and it's just a quick one from me, so we'll just have a quick shifty round. You can do 2 to get us back on track, but. The one that's at number 6 is Binding of Isaac Repentance.
Nice.
Which is the add-on stuff for Binding of Isaac, which is technically a new game, but it's also DLC. But you need a part of another game to actually get this, or you can buy it standard. It's confusing. It's Binding of Isaac. It's always been confusing how the DLC works with that one. You release DLC. I don't care. My list.
Yep.
But it's more Binding of Isaac. Ed McMillan has created one of the greatest franchises, single games. Is it a single game? I don't know. But one of the greatest single game franchises I've ever played. And it's in one of my top 5 games of all time. Yes, so I know it should be further up my list this time, but it's, I want to give other stuff a chance. It's just, I love Binding of Isaac, just like I love Spelunky, and there's not much I can say about it other than it's more of Isaac with more bits thrown in. Same core gameplay. Pump it into my veins.
yeah. I think it's a really good... One of the things I like about doing these lists is the variety of stuff about the gaming world and the way that the production happens and the design that sort of comes out when you're talking. And the thing about this is that if The Binding of Isaac wasn't such a cultural phenomenon, I'm sure the developer would have moved on to a different IP.
Yes.
But I'm positive that kind of like certain other games that may be mentioned, there's so much demand from the fan base for more of that, more of the same, that they're trapped into doing it. I'm not trapped, what a nice way to be trapped, doing something that you love. But, that they're doing that content, and a kind of like Enter the Gungeon, and other games like that. And if the demand is there and the developers are still able to add new wrinkles and new, special little things that keep that flame alive, then keep doing it.
But I want to be entitled now, because actually, just on what you just said, first, if EA released games in the way that Ed McMillan is doing with Binding of Isaac, they'll be dragged through the coals for it. I just want to say that. Yeah, he seems to get away with it, and I don't care. Just screw the big ones. I don't care. He can do what he wants. He makes great games. But hurry up with Meowgenics, please. I want to play a game about genetics with cats. Hurry up and get that made. You promised me that what feels like 20 years ago, Ed. Get that made.
Yeah, get on it, Ed.
Stop with Binding of Isaac now. We're done with Binding. We're done with Isaac. Take a break. Come back to it in a few years. Remaster it. Send it to me piecemeal again. Just get me the cat genetics game.
Yeah, don't make us call you George R.R. Martin, because, we want to see this stuff. Don't.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, no, great choice. Yeah, no, it's never really been for me, and that's fine. But it's one of those I absolutely recognise the brilliance of it. So, yes.
Agree with me, Stu. No, you play my games and like them. That's how it works, isn't it? You must like the games that... Everyone must like the same games.
Yeah. Well, you're getting a lot of trouble on the internet if you don't. So, yeah I agree.
Yeah. What's your number 6?
So, I'll do 6 and 5 then. So, at number 6 is Tetris Effect Connected. It feels like we've hardly ever spoken about this. It's a bit of an unknown.
I know.
Yeah. So, it is the Tetris Effect podcast, essentially. And, not...
Just a spoiler, you might not have heard it from me yet, but trust me, it's coming.
Oh, as if people didn't already know. But, yeah. So, it's made my list because... I've played it before this year. I played it in VR before this year. And it's one of those where it's like, which is better? Playing it in VR on your computer in this entirely new way, or playing it on your Switch in handheld on the sofa anytime you want? And the answer is, I don't know. Just lucky that we can. And playing it on the Switch has been absolutely brilliant. It's really brought me to the game in a way that not even the VR version did. It's something that you need to have, for me, you need to have that accessibility. It's got to be something on tap that you can, when you need, it's like smoking a ciggy. It's like when you need that fix, you've got to be able to have it right away kind of thing. And it's that for me now. And the game itself is just fantastic. I can see myself improving. It's not fast improvement, but I can actually feel the improvement as I'm going along. And I'll never be particularly good at it, but I'm enjoying it more because I can see my own progress. And I can see my own progress because the technical stuff in the background is so perfect. And it's just essentially a perfect game and always deserves to be on lists.
Yes. We always say there's no such thing as perfection. However, Tetris is.
Yeah.
Because it is I've said this before, and excuse the pun, it's the building blocks for every modern game.
It is.
It's what you learn is get your fundamentals right, and it does not matter what you do. The fact is, you've had crap versions of Tetris where, it's using like other things other than the Tetraminos, and they're still playable because the fundamentals are still there. I mean, only one company has got Tetris wrong, and I'm not even on about that weird Noah's Ark Jesus Tetris game that was made a few years ago. Ubisoft are the only company that broke Tetris and got Tetris wrong. Everyone else, it really does not matter. You can play it. I've got God knows how many versions of it on my Ambinic device. I've got Tetris Effect connected everywhere. Tetris 99. You can turn Tetris into a battle royale, for crying out loud. And I'm going to shut up now. When I get to my, I'm going to say it's there, but it is gaming nirvana. And Tetris Effect Connected literally takes you to a nirvana state.
It does. I mean, if it was named in 1987 or wherever it came out, if it was named by the West, it might have been called Dopamine, because it is just a dopamine, factory.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely fabulous. And what has ended up at my number 5 is another dopamine factory that just came out a couple of days ago. I absolutely bashed its way into the top 10 like in a phenomenal fashion in a way that games haven't for a while. And it's just like almost like a shadow drop. And to get this high up in my list so late in the year really speaks to how good it is. And that is Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon. And it's just superb. And that's all I'm going to say about it for now.
Oh, why would that be? Could it be because it makes an appearance?
Oh, who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows? It could just be that Stu's lying and he's just wanted to put it in there because he's been paid by the publisher.
I just wanted to look big and clever. That's all. Yeah.
Don't take him at his word with stuff like this. He's getting paid off.
No, I'm a liar.
So, my number 5 is a puzzle game. It's got loads of lovely colours and lights and music. And it's not called Tetris. It's called Ecstasy. Or as I used to call it, Ecstas. Because it's do you know that? Have you ever seen the film Showgirls?
No, I haven't actually, no.
Have you not? So there's a moment in there. It's a bad film. Brilliant. There's a moment and she's going like, I'm taking her down like Vegas and all these posh shops and everything. And she's looking and she goes, oh, I love Versace. And it's like, no, it's Versace. And it's like, that always stuck because I always thought it was Versace when I was younger. I didn't realise it was Versace. So yeah, whenever I say Ecstasy, and I know it's Ecstasy now because you corrected me, I went, oh yeah, that makes sense based on what the game is. I always thought it was Ecstasy.
I like that though. I like it. I kind of want to call it that from now on, really.
But it's absolutely brilliant. I mean, again, the only way I could describe it is it takes elements from Tetris without sticking to the rules of Tetris. It takes elements of Lumines without sticking to the pure rules of Lumines. Takes the music beats from both Lumines, Res, Tetris Effect Connected and other games like that, and kind of puts it in a blender, mixes it up with all the love and care of Nigella Lawson, and produces an amazing action puzzle game that if you've played Tetris, if you've played any action puzzle game, you will get straight into this and get it. And it's also, again, accessibility options. You could change the amount of glow, you could change the colours, the background colours, the colours of they're not even tetrarinos because there's like the different shapes and amounts in them as well. But you can change all that and it's accessible. And the developer wants to make it that this game could be played by someone who's nigh on blind by the sound alone. And brilliant. Just someone could make me a puzzle game that I could play when I can't see. Then it's just come out on the Switch, and it's wonderful, 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 wonderful.
But is it wonderful? That's the question.
It's wonderful,
right, okay.
Absolutely, and deserves its place in my top 5.
Excellent. No, I really want to get that. I might. You see, I've got Lumines, which is, I have a real soft spot as a Christmas game. It's one of those Christmas games that aren't Christmas games. You know, like you have your films that aren't Christmas films, like Flash Gordon for my wife and stuff like that. Lumines is one of my Christmas games, so I'll be replaying that. But I'm very tempted to buy Ecstasy and maybe make that the new Christmas experience for myself because it looks great and I've still not had a chance to play it. So, honestly, this year has been the year of puzzle games for me. Thanks to you, all down to you. I've played more of them in 1 year than I probably have in the last 20.
Your entire life, yeah. It's just a brilliant year for puzzle games, and I'm still on the hope, fingers crossed, that we will see a pull of one of my favourite modern puzzle games, Mixolumia, soon. I want a pull. It's got to happen. It's brilliant. Some of these, there's so many good puzzle games hiding, and next year there's another one coming out called Spirit Swap by I think they're an Arabian team, or some of them are from like the Middle East and that area. It's a mix of people who are working there. That just looks absolutely spectacular. Lo-fi beats, action puzzle mechanics in there. That looks spectacular. Coming next year. I can't wait. Play the demo of that. That's going to be in there next year for puzzle spoilers, top 10 spoilers next year. Because, Ecstasy, absolutely brilliant. Give it a go. Get it on the Switch. Get it on itch.io. Get it on Steam. I think I've owned this game about 4 or 5 times over already. Bring it out on other stuff and I'll support.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Just on the accessibility before we move off that game, that's an amazing thing that they're doing to try and make it accessible to all. And there's that thing that I think we often overlook, at like how much more skilled people are at things than you are. And, you know, it doesn't matter whether they're a disabled gamer. They're going to be, best at some things. And there'll be a load of disabled gamers who are just automatically incredibly better at games than I am in lots of areas. Maybe all areas, probably all areas. I'm not that good. But and it's just literally just an accessibility option that prevents them from getting to that point. It's like building a bridge to the point that they need to be. And as soon as they're at that point, they're absolutely kicking your ass. And that's what I want. I want everyone to be able to, be able to play these things if they can. And that's an amazing thing that they're doing there. And I'm really, really impressed with that.
Check it out. Check it out. It's less than a tenner for a cracking puzzle game. So if you don't want to spend 30 to 35 quid on Tetris Effect, it's a great alternative. Really is.
Yeah, and everybody needs something to play on their handheld device. Well, the family are doing their thing that's boring the crap out of you. So that could be the one.
And unlike the absolutely amazing Lumines, which is absolutely amazing, you don't need to find a spare 3 hours just to play through once.
Well, that's
the only problem with Lumines. That's the only problem I've got with the main moded Lumines, is it takes hours.
Well, that's why it was such a good fit for the PSP, you see, because you could just stick it on pause and put the charger in and then come back to it. But you're right. I said it was my Christmas game and didn't explain why. I got it on the PSP in 2004, just before Christmas. So PSP came out over in the UK in 2005, but I imported a Japanese one when they were really hard to get hold of because everybody wanted one, which is ironic because it didn't really sell very well in the end.
I hope you pushed your glasses up as you was going for that. You went pure. Oh, yes, I imported a PSP.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, funnily enough, there's so much stuff I've done that people would be like, I don't go on about. But I like, now and again, I like to bring the odd one out, I modded a Neo Geo with a Unibios when I imported that, and but no, I don't go on about it too much.
Just like me in Tetris, really.
Yeah, exactly. So I got this new console and I bought a few games with it, and Lumines was the one that just absolutely blew me away. I was just stuck on it for the entirety of Christmas 2004. So good. Anyway.
It's never, ever, I've played all the different versions, nothing touches Lumines on a PSP.
Yeah.
Even the remakes, which are spectacular, nothing touches Lumines on a PSP in terms of that series. And it also, Shake Your Body is a banger of a tune as well.
It. Yeah. Oh, there's so many. Oh, anyway, this is not the Lumines cast. We should probably move on. But yeah, it's a beautiful game. Yeah.
God, what's your number 4?
Well, it's a bit of a surprise, this one. I surprised myself, in a way, in that it's lower down than I thought it would end up. But it just got pushed down for a couple of reasons, and that's Lone Echo 2. So I'm really glad that I could play it to see whether it landed in my Game of the Year list. But on the other hand, I should have maybe left it a little bit longer, because it's only like 6 months or so since I played the original. And okay, so caveat, I've only put about 3 hours onto it so far. Part of the reason why it's lower down the list. But it's not so far doing much different than the original game. And that's not a bad thing, but a lot of people have been coming to it after, a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year gap. After a few months, it's not really kind of, and I feel a bit bad.
Yeah.
And I needed to put more time on it. But such is life. Anyway, the reason it still gets there, even though I'm undecided on its final quality, is because it has that humanity that we were talking about. It has the best script of any game that I've played this year, probably for a good couple of 2-3 years, It's really, it's lovely, it's kind, it's warm-hearted, but it has tension and peril. It has no violence, like we were talking about before. It's one of those rare things, but it has lots of mechanical interaction. It's very intelligent. It never insults the audience, well, the player. And it's got just, even if the game itself was a bit garbage, which it's not, you would have all of that great stuff too. And it's like an interactive sci-fi novel in a way. Just really impressive, not like anything else out there at the moment. And if you've got the VR a machine playing it, capable of playing it in VR, then definitely go for it.
Yeah, no, it's one I've not experienced, and I probably won't get to experience in reality. But again, hearing you talk about both the games, it's one that if I do ever go VR, I'm definitely into. I'll definitely give a go. But again, yeah, it's nice to have a game where you kind of go, it's in there just because. That's enough of a reason.
Yeah, I think it's really important that you put things in. This is mental health gaming, and we put things in that we love because they really help our mental health, and this is definitely one of them. It's really genuinely it's kind of a milestone in writing in games, and the only reason it's not talked about more is because it is on a niche platform, and it's like Half-Life Alyx, which is as good as, if not better than, Half-Life 2, which is many people's game of all time. But again, it's niche. So I would say if you can't and have no option to play VR, or particularly VR that will support this game, watch some YouTube videos. Not like all of it, you don't have to watch a full playthrough, but I would recommend watching 10 minutes of some part of the game that has a decent amount of dialogue to get a flavour for how it sounds and looks and the kind of atmosphere it generates, just to give you a taste of it, because it's really genuinely worth it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I say, if we're ever allowed in each other's properties down the line, because who knows what's going on, if we're ever allowed, I'm coming to yours, you can show me.
Yeah, sounds good.
You're moving now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm not telling you where I'm going.
But yeah, no, definitely. And talking of story and writing and spectacularness and sort of like milestones, my number 4 is Disco Elysium Final Cut.
Ooh.
I suppose to add the extra bit onto it. Now, yes, it came out 2018, 2019, whatever it was. Yes, it's not exactly new, but it's just come out on the Switch. And it's the sort of game I struggle to play on a big screen or sat at a computer because I get distracted too easily. And it's why I'm a big proponent of, or a big sort of, I love the idea of cross-save in everything, because I'd love to have started Disco Elysium and then taken it onto the Switch and back and forth. But anyway, playing it only on the Switch, I've barely scratched the surface, but it's right up there because within minutes of putting it on, I was drawn into this story, and within minutes, decisions you make are affecting the story. And like, it's coming up, you've got these options, and it's like, I don't know what I want to choose because it's going to have an effect, and it's really got me thinking. The characters are all really well written. Decisions you make seem absolute as well, which I really like.
Yes.
But it doesn't end the game. You have so many games you go, oh, look, you made Joel do this and now he's dead and you've got to go back and do this in The Last of Us. Fine, I get that. But a game where you could go, oh, look, you've made the main character do this, and you shouldn't really have done that because that's going to be pretty bad. But hey, let's see where it goes. Yeah, it's absolutely spectacular writing. And again, accessibility. I know this probably isn't an accessibility option as such, but it works. Fully voice acted all the way through. Thank you very much, because on the Switch, it would be unplayable without voice acting. Because small text, and I get why it's there. It's why we need system level accessibility for font sizes and stuff, but fully voice acted means I can play it. It's just, it's stunning. It's not the best story-driven game I've played this year. Lacuna I thought was very good, and Sunju I played on the Switch, the point-and-click one we mentioned a few weeks ago, I think was a better story. But again, I finished those, haven't finished Disco Elysium. I'm probably about a third of the way through, but that third of the way through has catapulted it to my full favourite game of the year.
Awesome. No, and it just seems like one of those, when you're talking about making the next step up in terms of the maturity of games in general, it seems like one of those, and definitely, ironically, at the same level as Lone Echo 2 that's turned up in, on our lists. And they are absolutely both like that. They are the next step up of treating it like a fully matured, platform. And the only reason I don't have it yet is because it's so expensive on the Switch. I want to play it on the Switch, but it's $35.99 at the moment.
It's worth it.
Well, probably, but I'm cheap.
It is worth it. It is worth it. I had credit. I got given some credit, and that's why I was able to afford it. Otherwise, I would have been waiting. But yeah, it's definitely worth it. But what it does show, actually, Disco Elysium being in there pushed one game out of my honourable mentions, so I didn't want to go too far. And that was Beautiful Desolation, which I spoke about a few months back on the podcast, and I absolutely adored. Absolutely brilliant. It's in the same vein as Disco Elysium, but it's like watching... as though you've gone watching Senor Spielbergo's version of a film to Steven Spielberg's. Yeah. The quality levels are just up there. I mean, better writing than a Spielberg film. Anyone who's watched Ready Player One can understand that. Yeah. Controversial. But we're talking, Paul Thomas Anderson levels of writing. So your Magnolias and your Boogie Nights and stuff. We're at those levels of writing within a game compared to what Beautiful Desolation was. So yeah, it's, again, films so far still much better in terms of conveying certain stories, but games like Disco Elysium are pushing those boundaries and taking us to a step that I think one day films cannot get us to.
Yeah, and it's always, they're always going to have their own place, but it's nice that it's the gaming medium is finally getting there with how it tells its stories. I'm definitely getting it just when it's cheap.
And it's 20 times better than a visual novel play on Netflix, Bandersnatch, as well, which I finally got around to watching. That's shite.
Oh, I quite enjoyed it.
Was shite.
I thought it was a good experiment. Obviously, it's never going to be brilliant, but I liked...
I played it after playing the first few hours of Disco Elysium. Thought, do you know what? Let's see what this interactive film type thing's like. And it's so stilted in comparison.
Yeah.
I probably didn't help. If I watched Bandersnatch first, I probably would have gone, oh, wow, this is really good. But yeah, I played Disco Elysium, and that then triggered me into going, let's check out Bandersnatch.
Oh, fair enough.
And I'm sorry to say a bad word against his Lord and Saviour, Charlie Brooker, by the way. But yeah, Bandersnatch was shite, in my opinion.
Fair enough. Right. So are we on to number 3, are we?
Yes.
So,
for you.
For me. And my number 3 is another comparatively late entry, but, totally deserving of being there, and maybe a surprise to some, and it's Halo Infinite. So it's the only, fully AAA game anywhere in my list.
Yeah.
But it's deservedly so. I keep saying that, but, I would do, wouldn't I? It's my opinion. But, yeah, it's had a lot of controversy, and a lot of it is fair, and we'll just briefly go over some of the stuff that people don't like first. So people say that it gets a bit samey because it's just set on one map and one environment, which everyone is calling a biome for some reason, and that it doesn't have very many weather effects, and that effects in general are quite missing, and it looks quite old-fashioned because it's designed to work on the previous gen. And there's loads of other things about the gameplay getting stale and blah, blah, blah. Now, the thing is, all of those things are true, but at the same time, it's a really great game. And it's a really good game because the core gameplay, like I've talked about in the last few weeks, is so exceptional. And there's so much emergent stuff that comes out of it that keeps it fresh. And it shoots itself in the foot right near the end by having boss fight after boss fight, basically, and channeling you down corridors, which is not what the rest of the game does. It then opens up again when you complete the campaign so that you can move around the map again, but that does leave a bit of a sour taste. But after, other than that part, that several hour stretch, which is a pain, it's just such a beautifully playing action game that everything works just perfectly. It's mechanically so sound, and that's so important with a first-person shooter, that the physics work and that the guns have heft and that explosions feel like they properly rumble the room and make you feel like that real impact is happening. And it's just fabulous. I'm not even a big action game fan generally. You don't play that many of them in first person particularly. But yeah, it's just wonderful. It's got that Halo magic in the way that it plays.
Yeah.
And it surprised me that it ended up so high on my list, but it did. And just one last thing to say. I had to give up playing it on my PC because this is another reason why people are down on it. The drivers for it are so bad. It's sponsored by AMD, and I've got an NVIDIA graphics card, and it's for such a basic looking game, it uses so many resources on the PC.
Really?
It's terrible. My PC is several orders of magnitude more powerful than my Xbox One X, and my Xbox One X runs it flawlessly at 60 frames, whereas my computer doesn't, and it's all down to the graphics drivers. So I switched over to playing it like 10% of the way through onto my Xbox One X and had a much better time. So yeah, it has got a lot of strikes against it, but it's still a really good game.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear the PC side of it, because I was that's where I was planning on playing it. I might just cloud play it on the Xbox One.
I think that's probably the best way to play it.
Yeah, not the multiplayer. Obviously, the multiplayer I'll play. I'll have to play. Okay, well, I don't notice stuff like that, so I'll probably close everything down and play the multiplayer on PC, because it's still controller based, isn't it, on the PC? Yeah. The heroes, they are heroes. And I don't have to play against someone mouse and keyboard. Absolute heroes of gaming.
Yeah.
But yeah, Halo's Halo. I don't know what people expect from Halo. The first game was flawed in many, many ways. It was just brilliant to play, though. And all Halos have been flawed in some way, and they're just fun. I think people want too much from them. I really do. People expect too much from what's just a shooty man's video game. Yeah. It doesn't need to change the world every time it releases.
Yes, I completely agree. And I respect people's negative opinions. And a lot of them, pretty much all of them are based in fact in one way or another.
Yeah.
And I think that, there is this kind of, well, if you're going to spend $500 million developing a game, then it should be something exceptional. And I'd say it's a really great experience and just really great and enjoyable pretty much from end to end, but with a lot of flaws as well. And I think that, saying 500 million should enable you to iron out those problems. Well, that's where art meets commerce, and commerce is winning out over art. You needed another, year or two for it to...
Water world.
Yeah.
Just if we're talking about money should equal...
quality. Yeah, and also COVID, you can't minimise how big an impact that's had.
Yeah.
But I'm not making excuses for it. I've recognised its flaws, but I still have it as my number 3.
Yeah, no, so I think one thing that's important when I'm saying, like, people expect too much, I'm not saying you can't criticise a game. You've got to. I could find criticisms in any game, even my favourite games, apart from Tetris, because that's perfect. But anyway, you can find it's okay to criticise and still like something. I think that's something we've lost in nuance.
Yes.
It's one of the reasons I really like Mark Commode as a reviewer, because he will find criticisms in things he enjoys and states, this is wrong with it, but I enjoyed it. He said about, like, the Mamma Mia film, he went categorically, it's a shit film, but he loved it. Because that's fine. Steph Sterling in their recent Game of the Year, whatever it is, I can't remember what they called it in the end, but games they didn't absolutely hate of the year awards, spoke about Aliens Fireteam and said it's not a good game, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah.
You can critique the absolute crap out of something and enjoy it, and Halo's that. Now, I'm not going to lie, I phased out ever so slightly because I saw something pop up, a notification while you was talking. Did you talk about the shooting mechanics when you was talking?
I did. I said that the underlying mechanics in it are just fantastic. They're by far the best 343 have done in their games, and I've liked all of their games, strangely. But I think they match or exceed what Bungie did. They certainly match it. They might exceed it.
But that's what I love. That's the one thing I've always found with Halo. Of all the shooters, it's the most satisfying shooter in terms of the actual gunplay.
Yes. And also, people have got a great frame of reference because the Master Chief Collection has been sort of growing strength to strength year on year.
Yeah.
Because they've kept putting money into it, kept improving it. So people have played the other Halos like quite recently, and you can compare it directly with like Reach and Halo 3 and even the first game, and it really stands up on a technical level. It really, really does.
Yeah, 100%. And it's okay. You've almost got to say, fair play to 343 and even Microsoft for allowing him to do it, for continuing to support what was essentially a failure in the Master Chief Collection.
Yeah, it's turned it around, really has, and it is a good thing that they've done that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's enough AAA talk. We need a palate cleanser.
Go for it.
But at this point, I'm going to say, if you're driving, pull over. Okay. If you're holding a baby, put the baby down, because it's not at number 1. It's not at number 2, but at number 3 this year is Tetris Effect Connected.
Hey.
It would be my number 1. It would be. However, I couldn't. It had nothing to do with Tetris Effect. Tetris is still the greatest ever. And again, Tetris for me is an all-in-one. So Tetris Effect Connected, 99, the Grandmaster, original Game Boy Tetris. Well, it's not original NES Tetris, but Game Boy Tetris, the one most people consider the original. All of that is just one. Puyo Puyo Tetris. It's all in one. It's Tetris. It's the greatest of all time. But as much as I wanted to put it at number 1 this year, I couldn't. But it's up there at number 3 because it is still just amazing. We've spoken about it before. I'm not going to say any more about it. It's just, yeah, I love Tetris Effect Connected. But for me, there's 2 games this year that I've played that dropped it down from its guaranteed number 1 spot.
Well, we're human beings and we always love newness. And if something great comes along, that even if it's not, the perfect thing, it's new. And that's really important, So, yeah, I see it.
Yeah. So you're number 2.
Well, I don't think anyone will have predicted this, not because it's not a game that or in a genre that I don't like, even though it is in a genre I don't play very much. But
is it Assassin's Creed?
Yeah, that's it. At number 1, Call of Duty, whatever this one's called this year. No,
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty. I don't even know what. I'm not even sure what. Warframe is the last thing I remember. I don't even know what the new one's called.
Warframe's not a Call of Duty game. Warframe's a free-to-play Destiny-like.
Yeah, but that's the last one I remember anyway.
No, that's not Call of Duty. That's not even Call of Duty. That's what I mean. It's, I don't know. Call of Duty bollocks. There you go.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Warzone.
Oh yeah. They're Fortnite-alike. They made.
Yeah. That's the last one I remember.
I don't know. It's cleanser. I've gone number 2.
So, my number 2, probably forgotten about by everybody, is Bravely Default 2. And
yes.
So this came out in February, and I loved the first Bravely Default. And for anyone who don't know, it's basically Final Fantasy VII, or 5 to 7 gameplay, kind of just resurrected, really. And it doesn't do anything new. It doesn't look graphically particularly brilliant. It doesn't. I've got loads of things negative I can keep saying about it, but I just loved it. And I think partly because it just totally embraced what it wanted to do, which was, I want to bring to you all of these game mechanics that have been left behind because we've trodden over them with more sophisticated systems and styles. And I'm like, well, I liked that one style and I don't really want to go to anything else. And I play JRPGs so rarely, so infrequently, that when I do, I want it to be of a particular kind. And I just love the battle system in Bravely Default 2. It just, to me, it's just so rewarding, so satisfying. I never got bored of it. I think I played about 70 hours. And it just, completely gripped me. And I loved just building up my classes and playing with different loadouts and... just wonderful stuff. I was totally engrossed for, hours upon hours. And it was just a fantastic experience for me.
Yeah, see, there's nothing I can add to it because I've not played it. I've not played the first one. But it's one of those games that kind of like, it sits on a list of stuff that I go, when I get the time, I will try to play this. Knowing full well, I'm probably never going to get the time.
No.
But I really do want to play it because it does look lovely. And if I ever find it super cheap at a boot sale or something like that, or whatever, then I might pick it up and try and see if I can do what I usually do with some of these massive RPGs and play about 3-4 hours, put it down for a few months, and then go, oh?
Yeah, and I think that should be embraced. I don't think there should be any criticism. Buying a game with the intention of not completing it just to experience it. And obviously that depends on how much money you've got and when things are cheap. But that thing of like having a little bit of experience and then maybe filling it in with a Twitch streamer carrying on that game like almost for you, or watching a video of it on YouTube, any of that kind of interaction, so that you can have part of the experience. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think I saw this TikTok yesterday, a really clever one of a guy saying, you know, that he has some artistic ideas, like he'll think of song lyrics or a painting, and he'll make a start on them, and then he'll leave them maybe sometimes for years. And he felt guilty for years about this, and then eventually came to the realization that it was just capitalism that was making him feel guilty. That, you know, we're taught from a young age that once we start something, we have to finish and we have to create a product and all of this. And he's like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not doing it. You know, I can do little chunks of things once every 8 years, don't care. And I think that should apply to games. You should be able to just play 5 minutes of it or 2 hours or, you know, whatever, and then fill it in with other people's experience. And there's no shame in that at all. And I think you could do that with Bravely Default. I'm definitely going to do it with games more coming, you know, going forward.
Oh yeah, it's again, it's why I think like at Games Pass is such a good thing. And sooner, I know PlayStation, like Sony, are getting on board and going to try and do their version of it. Nintendo need to get on board because they've got so many good games that people could try. I'd happily pay a premium. I'd happily pay $10 a month or whatever, similar to Microsoft's, to play a selection of games to see what they're like.
Yeah,
they could even if they want to go a bit Nintendo and rotate these games in and out, you know, so you get them for like, oh, here's January's games, they're out, and we'll put them back next January or whatever. Just do a Nintendo thing, but do something that allows people to experience these games, because you'll probably get sales from it that way. Free play days are fine, I get that, but when it's like, oh, I've got 2 days to play this game, but I'm busy this weekend, so I don't really want to spend it playing and like trying to hammer as much of this game as possible. But I mean, yeah, you said about like that artist on TikTok. I do that. I've got so many ideas for MHG that it goes around my head like, I'll do this, and then I forget, or I get distracted by something else, and you feel guilty. You know, I actually finally rebranded the Twitter to just MHG because it's just easier. And it's like, it took me like 6 weeks to get my head around actually doing that, because I was like, people might judge me, and I don't know. And then I forgot, and I was like, should I do it now? I can't believe I've mentioned it. And yeah, the human brain's a weird thing.
It is, and we do have that thing from an early age of, you know, to help us actually survive for the first few years of, if you start this, you must complete it, because if you didn't, you'd starve, or you'd die of thirst or whatever. And so you do need some basic skills that are, you've got to go from A to B to C to D to Z eventually. But when you're an adult, you've got to deprogram yourself a little bit out of it, I think, especially anything that's to do with leisure or creativity. It's like, do it in the way that you love, you know? And engage with it.
Yeah. And it's like this, and again, there are going to be changes next year. We'll reveal those once it's all worked out. But it's, again, I started off the idea when I set up MHG was I needed it. I needed to talk about mental health and stuff like that. And I still do, and we will still talk about mental health. But at the same time, just talking about games is helping so much with my own mental health that I had to choose, like, start looking at it going, actually, stop feeling guilty about not shoehorning mental health into everything, which is what I was trying to do at one point. I haven't got to do that, because who does that actually help? Because if you do want an escape and you come in and someone's talking about, we're going to be talking about suicide again, does someone really want that? Or do they want 2 idiots to be chatting crap about the latest indie game or whatever? There's an audience for that, and it's just getting those balances right and doing what's right for each individual, like for yourself. If you're doing right for yourself, then if other people find that right, good for them at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know who this second idiot is you're talking about, but I recognise the rest of that. Yeah.
It's my other personality.
Yeah, that'll be it. I agree with all of that. But it's great that we have segments where we talk about, you know, mental health specifically and pick it out. But, you know, those are skippable if you don't want to listen to them. And anything that we talk about mental health wise in conversation about games tends to be positive, which is really good, you know, because they are a great thing for mental health. There are very few games I can think of that I would say playing them would be detrimental to your mental health. I mean, they do exist, but I don't think there are very many of them. It's 99%, maybe more than that. Yeah, definitely more than that. A very positive hobby.
Yeah. Actually, talking of like negatives that turn into positives, quick shout out: the makers of Stalker 2 are not going to do NFTs now after Backlash. So well done them for going, oh yeah, this was a bad idea, and backing out of it, because do you know what? That's okay to admit you made a mistake.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, that was a terrible error. So I'm glad they reversed it pretty quick. I think people are reversing on NFTs pretty fast, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be funny if we do actually hit an apocalypse and like NFTs are the only currency, and then someone can go, see, joke's on you. You were wrong.
So yeah, funnily enough, I was at when I was at my family's on the weekend, they asked me what NFTs were. They were like, but what are NFTs? And so I was like, okay, well, I'll start off by saying that they're garbage. You know, they're just a pyramid scheme.
They're a grift.
They are a grift. But then I explained what they were, and I got to the end and they went, yeah, right. So what are NFTs? And I think essentially it's just that they are, they're inexplicable because they are such a ridiculous pyramid scheme style operation. It is a total grift, and I think that they are dying out, and the idea is dying out much more quickly. And the big lumbering companies, publishers, game publishers, have still got NFT as part of their future slate because they're like, oh god, we can't miss out. And I think they're already looking like dinosaurs for having NFTs as part of their future scope.
Yeah, Ubisoft are basing everything around NFTs, and then quickly went, we're remaking Splinter Cell.
Yeah.
Because we had to divert. And I was like, oh, bugger, what are we going to do now? Because next time sex allegations come out, we haven't got Splinter Cell to fall back on. Oh, no. Vile companies. Anyway, what was that? That was your number 2?
Yeah, that was my number 2. Cool.
My number 2, and we've been looking forward to speaking about this one, is Shovel Knight Pocket Edition.
Yes.
Pocket Dungeon. I keep getting it wrong. I don't know why. Oh my God, what a game. What an absolutely amazing game. I originally just, when I played it, I went, oh, this is going to go as an honourable mention. Then I went, oh, do you know what? This is going to hit my top 10. And then I went, oh, I'll stick it in at number, I think I'll put it in number 7. Then I was thinking top 5. And then I played more, and I went, well, Jesus Christ, it's going to replace Tetris.
Yeah.
And yeah, now there's a shock, because that means something else is at number 1 that's not Tetris. And Tetris was never at number 1. But yeah, Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon is just, it's amazing. I can't explain why. It's so good, why the loop works so well. Because if I turn around to you and said it's a roguelike game where you need to collect artifacts to help you get through different puzzle levels, and it gets increasingly more difficult, it sounds like, okay, yeah, done that. It can't be that new, but it is. It's so spectacularly new. It feels fresh in a genre that's tired. I think the roguelike, I love roguelikes, because I might talk about this in a future podcast, remind me, because I'll forget, about why I take to roguelikes so well, because I think it's the way my brain's wired. But I appreciate it's a tired genre for a lot of people. And puzzle games, a lot of people don't like. They see them as not having as much value as other games, for whatever stupid reason, I don't know. But Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon takes both of those genres, puts them together, and just creates a masterpiece. I think I don't throw masterpiece around lightly, but this is an absolute masterpiece of two genres knitted together to create something very, very special.
It really is, and if I'd had more time than just 2 days on it, it would have ended up even higher on my list, I think. Just to give the listeners a bit of context, it's basically it's kind of like a mashup almost of Mr. Driller and something like Bomberman, when Bomberman did like single player adventure bits.
When it was good.
Yeah, well, I never really took to those, so it's strange that I'm using them as an example. But that's done the opposite. So Bomberman was a puzzle game that they made an adventure mode out of, and this is an adventure game they've made a puzzle game out of. And yeah, so basically you're in you're in an arena, or you can think of it as a well, like in Tetris, and enemies drop from the top, and you have to hit them like you do in Mr. Driller, and you've got to clear them and eventually get out of there by collecting a key that will get you out of the room. There are tons and tons of sophisticated bits on top of it, but that's essentially what it is. And the Mr. Driller comparisons stop when you bring in the fact that your character has different abilities and can gain different abilities. When you hit something, generally it takes health off you. You have a health bar, and your health bar goes down from hitting most enemies. So the way that you can survive is by making sure that you chain enemies as much as possible, so that when you do one hit and lose one health, for example, the one hit chains through all of that group of characters that you've hit, and also by collecting health. So it's got loads of things in it that are really, really difficult to explain. There's also gems, there's a combo bar, there's tons and tons of stuff that make it, if I talked about them all, it would sound like the most off-putting thing in the world, but it just makes sense.
It's so simple at a base level. I think that's why it works.
Yeah, it is. Even though it's got a lot of systems, at the base level it works. To try and explain, like you said, why it's a masterpiece is difficult.
You can't.
Yeah.
Just is.
It is incredibly rewarding. It really is. Just like working out. So I suppose part of the genius comes in the fact that you can play it in lots of ways. There's no kind of like, it's got that sophistication, so it's not like the genius simplicity of the original Tetris, which is, try and make sure that you keep aspects clear in the well so that you can get the highest score when you get a particular shape. It's more like, well, you can, run really fast around and take things out and grab health and do it really quickly and efficiently, or you can focus on one area and do that slowly but methodically, or you can focus on grabbing a particular power-up or buying one and using that effectively. And it's just like there seems to be loads of tactics that you can employ, and obviously one will probably bubble to the surface over the next few months. That's the the killer app kind of thing. But at the moment, at least, there seem to be lots of ways that you can approach it, and that in itself just it is just like an action game and a puzzle game running side by side at the exact same time.
So before we get to what I think one of the biggest bits of genius is with this game, and why it stands apart from, I think, a lot of other stuff, is you can strategize on the fly, and it's so good at doing that.
It is, and I've got a slightly different experience. I'm not sure how different, but when you start the game, you're asked if you want to play it as a platformer, well, no, as a puzzle game or as a roguelike.
Yeah. So what you've essentially got is you've got a roguelike mode and a puzzle mode, essentially. So the roguelike mode is you get one life, and that's the base roguelike mode. But you could also increase that to have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think up to 10 lives and keep it a roguelike mode. Or you can have infinite lives and turn it into a puzzle mode, which means you can just keep going and going and going until you complete a room. With the caveat being, in puzzle mode, if you fill up a level so that you can't make any more moves and that you cannot get out of that room, then you go back to the camp and have to start from the beginning again. So that's the only caveat with puzzle mode. But yeah, basically in roguelike mode you get stocks. But the game is the same. So progression is the same all the way through both modes. So if you go to the camp-based shop and unlock the different artifacts, they can be found in puzzle mode or roguelike mode, regardless. And there's no punishment in terms of in-game punishment for playing it with unlimited lives, or even the other options of doing the rooms out of order, turning off bosses, making the game run slower or faster and stuff. There's no punishment in game. The only quote unquote punishment you get is you can't unlock achievements which I think is absolutely fine, because then that's a reason to go back and play it and get more achievements. So what I found myself doing is I've got this playing two ways. One is one stock, and I'm going to try and see how far I can get on a one stock, and I've been playing it like that. But what I've also been doing is going, right, I'm getting really stuck at this point. Really, really stuck at this point. So I'm going to play it again, and I'm going to go unlimited lives or 5 stock or whatever, and approach it differently so I can take more risks and learn more strategies and stuff like that. And then I can go back and one stock it again. So I'm playing it both. But also in puzzle mode, what I really like is that I can just turn on puzzle mode, turn the speed right down. So every move you make, like every step you make, is the only time you get things come down. So you can slow it right down and play it purely as a puzzle strategy game at the same time. And all these options are there. And the best thing about turning on puzzle mode, but also being able to adjust the speed of the game, turning off bosses, is again accessibility, because you've got some people who love puzzle games but due to various physical conditions, mental conditions, can't react fast enough to play the game properly. And the fact you can turn it off, that you only have the game progress as you move in almost pure super hot, I think is brilliant, because it means anyone can play it, because you can take your time. But again, you're not stopping roguelike purists playing it how they want, or puzzle purists playing it how they want. It's just, I just can't say enough good things about this game.
Yeah, I think that the thing about accessibility is, I think it's eventually those options are going to become much more standard. Like, I think that the feedback from Halo Infinite will, with a lot of people, will be, I loved loads of it, I didn't like the fact there were bosses. And I think in future they're just going to go, don't want bosses? Turn off bosses. I think that's going to be a part of it. And it'd be like, yeah, you don't get the achievement for it. That's the only downside, you know? And I think that would be really good, because I enjoyed playing the bosses, generally, but a lot of people really hated it. And if you think, if anyone came back at you then, oh no, this game's crap because of the bosses, you just like, turn them off. Turn them off. And I think it's going to become really widespread.
And do you know what? Do you know the get good crowd who go, oh, that's not how the game was designed. You've just got to learn to get better. What are you afraid of?
Yes.
I'm going to call you out now. What are you actually afraid of? Are you afraid that that person you used to mock, who could have cerebral palsy and not have full control of their hands, might actually be better at a video game than you? Is that what you're scared of?
Yes.
Is that really what you're scared of? Because I don't care. I would, if I could play competitive Tetris where I can have it at my speed, someone else can have it at their speed, and, you know, we can still send like garbage based to each other and stuff like that. You know, they might send more garbage because they've got it set at a slower speed. Or I could go, you can send more to me because you need that extra help. Regardless of disabilities, even if someone's just getting new to the game for the first time or whatever, give them those options to get competitive. I want that. I don't want to be wiping the floor with my 5-year-old daughter at a game just because I'm 40 and she's 5 and I'm basically better than her. I want to make it more challenging. It's like we played Blockers yesterday as a family. You're not allowed to do, like, for anyone who's played it, you've got to put your pieces into corners. You can't like do like side by side touch. It's got to be corner touching. But we allowed her to do just wherever she wanted to put hers, so she could play with us. That's not the rules of the game. My son didn't like it because he wanted to win. Oh, she can't do that. It's not fair. It's not fair. Does it really matter? She's 5. And that's how games have got to approach it. Is Mario Kart, it drives itself. Or my old Mario Kart didn't drive itself. So what? This one does, because it means now I can play Mario Kart with my daughter when she was 2.
Yeah, definitely. It goes back to that
and
thing.
Now she's into video games.
It's supposed to be a game, it's supposed to be fun. It goes back to that thing I was saying about, about accessibility and about achievements and all of that. It's just like, if you want to play a section of a game or play it in easy mode or whatever, that should be totally viable. I mean, I completed, again, to use Halo Infinite, it's a good one because it doesn't make any concessions, really. There are very few. So I've completed Halo Infinite. I've completed a campaign on Heroic. I've beaten all the high-value targets. I've cleared all the forward operating bases. And I've defeated all of the strongholds of the Banished. So I'm up in the upper echelons of people who've to this point at least, played the game on a hard difficulty mode and done it without lowering it or whatever, you know. But that's not me boasting, because put me on Dark Souls and I'll die in seconds. And I will always die in seconds because my brain just doesn't work that way. So I was there bouncing around, kicking the absolute ever-loving crap out of things in Halo. Put me in Dark Souls and I'm an absolute moron. I'm like a walking turd. I want to be able to play those games. Yeah. I want to play Elden Ring, but I'm not going to be able to because I'm not good enough. If they put in a mode where I could play it, I would buy it. But they are not going to, because there's, no, you've got to play it the proper way. No, I want to play it in the way that I want to play it. I will buy the game at full price if you would let me do that.
Again, it's why modding communities are so important.
Yes.
But again, you make a good point. I'm never going to play Halo on hard mode. I never play any shooter on hard mode. I can't be bothered for a start.
Yeah.
So I play either normal, and do you know what? Sometimes I put it down to easy. Just because, you know what, I just want to get to the end of this game.
Yeah,
so I put it on easy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not going to bother. But if I was to play you at Tetris, competitive Tetris, and I was to start at level 10, drop myself down to level 10 speed, and put you up to level 10 speed, and go, well, this is how we've got to start, this is how we play, I'd kick your ass. But you'd get no fun out of it. But if I was to say, and Tetris Effect does this, I'm going to start at level 10, and give myself a challenge, but you could start at level speed 1, we both get something from it.
Yeah, I'd get my ass kicked.
Get something. You'd still get your ass kicked, yeah. But you get those options, and that's fine. And again, if you're doing competitive online for competitions or even ranked, fine, set your mode. That's ranked. Anything else, local multiplayer, casual multiplayer, do what you want. Just do what the hell you want. Yeah. And what I really, really like is Shovel Knight allows this as well. And it's got a 2-player mode that I've not even touched yet.
Yeah.
So, you know. And it's got a daily. These sort of games, roguelikes, puzzle games, daily modes. Blah.
I know.
I will take those all day, every day, because they give you a reason to come back.
Totally. Yeah. So some good examples of them doing it wrong and doing it right there. And I just don't think that you can do it wrong by having more. Like you say, I think too much of it is tied to like male ego in a lot of cases. You know, It's like it's always men that you hear talking about this. It's always men gatekeeping Dark Souls type games. And it's just like, shut up. Just shut up.
It's not realistic. This woman is muscly in this post-apocalyptic film. That she's a muscly woman in this film and in this game where they got like people have had spores take them over and make them parasitic monsters. You know, we can have the parasitic monsters that aren't actually physically possible. But no, this woman, she's not feminine enough, and that's just not realistic.
Yeah, I'm so over the whole patriarchal judging of what I can enjoy. So yes, it's great that the Shovel Knight doesn't do that. So yeah, and that on a positive. So it's going to be a lot of people's game of the year that wasn't from 2022 next year.
It depends on the rules, because some people say if it was released after a certain day, I think in the last month of the year, then it can go into next year's.
Yeah.
But I've played it this year, and I think again, had this released in mid-November, it would be number one.
Yes,
for me.
Yeah. I think it might well have got to number one for me, which is utterly unbelievable. I don't think I would, apart from back in 2004 with Lumens, I don't think I would have ever put a puzzle game number one. But it's fantastic.
And I would have put another puzzle game above Tetris.
Indeed, unbelievably.
It's still not as good as Tetris, mind, but just for this year. And for the way it's blown me away, and Tetris is always number one. It's my all-time number one, so it doesn't need to be number one. It's still my number one, and just in case Mark McDonald's listening.
Yeah. Right, so
we're up, big ones.
We're up to the big ones. Yeah, the big guns. So it's my number one, isn't it?
It better be good after the way we've just talked up Shovel Knight.
You'll probably hate it now. You'll probably be like, why? But anyway, this is going to be, again, a surprise, not because of the game, but because we've barely talked about it on this podcast for a very specific reason that we'll come to. And my number one for 2021 is Metroid Dread.
Ooh.
Now, the reason we haven't talked about it much is because, unfortunately, poor Brad's eyes happened, the bad stuff, at the time it was released, and since then you've not really been able to play it, have you?
No, and then other stuff. Once I've got back into games, other stuff came out that mean it's sat there now on my system, and I keep going, oh, I'll give that a go, but I'll play this instead.
Yeah, and it's not a game that is particularly easy on the eyes if your eyes cause you trouble. It's not meant to be accessible by anyone except for Metroid fans, and that's just both in presentation and in also, you know, the whole ethos behind the game. But it's a wonderful Metroid game. It is possibly my favourite game to have come out on no, Breath of the Wild's still my favourite. It's the second favourite game of mine to have been released on the Switch, and it's brilliant for all sorts of great reasons. It's one of the main reasons I love it is because it's the things that it annoys about Metroid superfans, which is that it's not classic Metroid. And you know me, I hate things standing still. I don't mind things, small games having like just being focusing on one classical area of gaming, that's fine. But I think when you're having new releases that are supposed to move a franchise forward, staying stuck in the mud is death for me. And it annoyed a lot of people because it moves things on. It really made me happy.
Yeah.
So it's just, the movement in it is phenomenal. It's the best movement. And in the year when Halo Infinite came out and totally nails traversal and makes every moment of running, jumping, grappling, everything exceptional, Metroid Dread is better than that. And it has all of those things. It has speed, you know, different levels of speed and different ways of navigating the environment and all the grapple and all of that, going through walls when you've got certain abilities. And the thing that I love about it is that it's like, this is the area of Metroid that we really want to focus on. So it's not the exploration and reveal of new places being difficult, secretive, and mysterious. It's more towards, here are all the tools. It's not quite as mysterious, but you're going to be able to really exploit that environment without having to, you know, get frame perfect timing on your moves. So it's like, here are the move sets, very accessible, even though some of them are still quite hard to pull off. But if you get good at it, and you know the bar isn't as high as it used to be, but you can then use it in so many ways that make you a really good player. Yeah. Layer on top of that, that it's absolutely beautiful. Like, it's a gorgeous game that isn't like technically the best looking game, but aesthetically it's one of the best looking games of the year by, well, quite some significant margin. Memorable bosses, just fantastic patterns, nice environments, some really clever additions, and it's all playable on a handheld, and it sucks you in. I was totally mesmerised and you know, it was one of those I completed within a week because I was just caning it every night. Absolutely brilliant. I loved it. Metroid Dread.
Yep. No, I mean, the little I have played, well, yeah, you're right, it's spectacular looking. It's a beautiful looking game. And even like the early, I think, hour or so I put into it, I could feel there's something special there. And I can't wait at some point next year to be able to, I mean, I'm either not going to be playing games next year at some point at all, or I'll be back to a point where I can play games, and that's right at the top of the list of what I've got to make sure I play next year, because everything I've heard about it, not just you, but other people talking about it, everything I've seen about it, the little I've played of it, oh yeah, it looks special, it feels special.
It is, and it's one of those a little bit like the inverse of Deathloop, where I said in a year's time people are going to be like, oh, this is why Deathloop isn't that great, even though that same reviewer gave it 87, you know? Yeah. They're going to do the inverse with Metroid Dread. It got around, you know, it's like averaging around 8 out of 10. Next, I think in a year's time, they're going to be like, why this is a classic, why it's a 10 out of 10. And I think it's because the first time, it's such a shock to come up against the robot things that I can't remember the name of, which are the pivotal part of the game. Such a shame that such a change to how the series plays, that I think it spooked a lot of people, and I think the lack of really hidden mysteries. There's only a handful of really, really hidden areas. I think those two things shook people up quite a lot because it's by Mercury Steam. It's by far the best game they've ever done by a massive margin. And I think it shook people up, but I think in retrospect and on like second playthrough, I think it's going to get even more critical plaudits than it did, and it will end up really high in people's lists of which are the greatest Metroid games.
I can totally see that, and it's good actually to have a big name game come out and meet expectations. And one of the things you talk about there with the scores, and it's getting similar scores to Deathloop, but they're going to be seen in different ways. Again, I think it just shows how bullshit the scoring systems actually are in games reviews.
Yeah,
because they probably on levels. There's the way you score them based on scores. Then yes, they probably are same, but one they can have the same scores. One could be slightly disappointing, and one could be amazing. That's just weird to me. That breaks me.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And things need time. And another victim of a culture where everything has to be a headline and the conversation moves on so quickly is that sometimes games and films and all sorts of media need time to grow, and they need time to settle and grow in your consciousness. And that definitely happened with Deathloop, and I really do feel bad dunking on it because I appreciate the developers and I appreciate the game. I just didn't like it, but that diminished in the time that I played it, and I put 12 hours into that game, let's not forget. Whereas Metroid Dread, the more I think back on it, the more I appreciate it. And I can talk about this now because this won't air till after Christmas Day, well, on Christmas Day. So one of my Christmas presents, I'm giving my Switch Lite to my wife so that she's got her own Switch. I bought an OLED Switch because
did you just look to make sure she wasn't in the room with you? She said
I had to do that and make sure that she couldn't possibly listen to this before I give her the Switch on Christmas Day. And now I've got an OLED Switch, and I stuck Metroid Dread on just to look what it looked like, and oh my god, it's so good looking. Jeez. So yeah.
Yeah, I can't afford an OLED Switch. I don't want an OLED Switch because I'm happy with what I've got. So yeah, just don't talk about your OLED Switch again.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't be able to get old one anyway.
No.
I got mine second hand off somebody very, very fortunately.
Shortages are carrying on into 2023 apparently.
Well, I'm not surprised.
Lots of stuff. So what I'm glad about though, before I get onto my game of the year, is it's going to force developers to have to still reel in what they're doing with games, because if they want to make money, they can't just release it on next gen hardware.
Yeah,
they can't push the boat out in terms of the graphics card and the processor's better, so we could just do this instead. They've got some of the best games come out when you're limited, and I can't wait to see what that actually does.
Yeah, I'm really excited about Horizon Forbidden West coming out on PS4 because I don't have a PS5 and it's not getting a day and date PC release, and I really want to play it because that was another grower. That was another one that I played and was like, yeah, that's good, and then 6 months down the line I was like, actually that was great.
I love Horizon.
Yes, yeah. So I'm going to buy that day and date on PS4. I'm really glad it's getting spoiled. I really want to. I know it'll be 30 frames per second, but really looking forward to see how hard they push that console, because it will have been 9 years old by the time that it comes out. So yeah, no, that's really good.
But it was one of those games that could only work on next generation PlayStation 5s. I don't get how what. We still believe in generations. And
strange how money changes people's minds, though, isn't it? Eh?
Yeah. Again, I'm okay with a slightly graphical downgrade to keep playing games on an older system. So, but yeah. Anyway, my game of the year isn't Tetris. It's not even a puzzle game, but it is an indie game. So it's not going to be a complete.
Thank God, the relief.
I know. It's not a roguelike.
Not a card
game.
There's
no cards involved. No cards involved whatsoever. What? I know. However, It is fully indie. It's a simplistic graphic game, so there's no spectacular graphics or anything like that. And I'm pretty sure it could run on a calculator. My game of the year is Railroute, a train dispatcher simulator.
Yay.
Now, come back in the room. Okay? Just bear with me here. We spoke earlier about mini motorways and how good that is because it strips down everything to just traffic management. Okay. Now, I like the idea of being a train dispatcher. It's definitely something to do with autism and ADHD. Listening to sort of, I think, sort of like Laura Kate Dale has spoken about before about how much she loves trains and stuff like that. And I know other people who are autistic really love trains. And I was like, you said you love trains back when I was at school, you'd get beaten up. But I could admit it now, I love trains. There's something about trains.
Yeah.
But anyway, the idea of being a train dispatcher is really good. And when you see like you watch those like Paddington 24/7 or whatever they're called programs on Channel 5, they go into the control room and you see their little digital screens and stuff like that, and they're having to press buttons to move the trains. Basically, so what someone's done is taken that visual style and made a management tycoon game out of it. So you start off with this little map and you've got a train comes into a station and you have to release it from the station all manually, tell it what track to go on to go to the next station and try and get it within a timetable. You get points and currency for it. Areas that you can time it so that a train can pass through a station without stopping and all stuff like that. And it feels really complicated, but it's so simplistic in terms of it uses... Like the trains are just little rectangles for each carriage on a train. So you get your longer trains have got more rectangles, shorter ones obviously less rectangles. You can get loads of contracts, and basically you get to a point where you build it up this really complicated looking grid, and you could just sit back and watch your whole system be fully automated, and that's just like really, really spectacular to do. And I've put hours and hours and hours and hours into this. I mean, my Steam thing says I put like 22 hours. I've definitely put more than that because I played it on my son's account as well, because I sometimes play stuff offline. But yeah, this game is just, it's absolutely wonderful. It drew me in, and I thought I'd give it a go. And I reckon I'm close to 100 hours on this thing. And I don't put 100 hours into many games, but there's just something about it. And when you get an automated line working, it's just, amazing.
Yeah.
But I want more people to play this. It's not going to work on any other system. This will not work on a console. You're not going to play this on the Switch. It is a pure PC game, but oh my God, it is so, so good.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be us if we didn't have a game that, most people can't play in some way or form. But that does sound great. And I think going back to like mini motorways, it's that thing where the developers have gone, right, so there's an aesthetic, there's a design aesthetic, like a classic design aesthetic, and the tube map is one of them.
Yeah.
Let's use that in our game, let's get that aesthetic in, because it'll then be purely joyous to play because you're seeing something that's really beautiful and functional at the same time. It's done that, Railroute, by the sounds of it, for something that we also don't have access to very often. Like, we don't see that, because it's not part of the public consciousness. It's not out in public. It's in a hidden away little control booth, but it's absolutely lovely. And to build such an incredible sounding game around that aesthetic just makes it sound like the perfect, things clicking. You can always hear the clunk in your head, that satisfying kind of clunk of something falling properly into place.
Yeah, and I didn't realise this. I thought it hit its 1.0 release, and I think it has hit its 1.0 release, but it's still down as an early access game on Steam. And they are still doing updates to it and quality of life and stuff like that. I mean, I've got my first game map that I started, well, it's not maybe like my third, but the one I actually started and played like endless mode on it, like based around Washington. And I've got endless money coming through now. I've just got this automated system that I almost wish I could set it as my screensaver. It's just so beautiful to look at. What I'll do is I'll stick it. I'll try and see if I can get some recorded footage of just this automated system going on for. I'll speed it up to 25 speed and let it go for like 20 minutes or whatever, and I'll stick it up on the YouTube channel at some point early next year, just to see how satisfied it is.
Definitely.
As I said, you've got endless mode, which I really, really love, and it's good. That's just really relaxing. Take your time without earning walls. But they're doing events. You're going to add events into it, and it's like, okay, that's really cool. So what's going to cause an event? Is there going to be like leaves on the line type stuff going on? Is there going to be, a bit grim, someone had an accident on the line, or if you have trains crash, can you carry on, but you need to reroute because you've got 2 trains have got stuck or something like that? And I can't wait to see what that does. And the fact it's growing and I've got this much love from it already. Wow. Just wow. What an amazing game it is.
Yeah, superb. It's great when things just click like that. Like I say, that big switch being flipped in your head. It sounds like a really good one. I'm definitely going to check it out at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Do I recommend you pick it up in early access? If you really do like this sort of idea, yes, 100%, because the developers are very open to suggestions and stuff like that, which is really good. If you just want a city builder, wait until it hits its full release, because it will be worth it. It's got all the Tycoon and City Builder bits in there, but I think you've really got to want to play a trade management game to say get this in early access. But I forgot it was in early access, which is why I was like, it's my game of the year. It could be there again next year, unless they completely screw it up or it's still in early access and they stop developing for it. It could well be up there next year as well. It's people who say there's no joy, people that haven't got joy for games at the moment, play a bit more. There's so much out there. Just listen to the way Stu talks about Metroid Dread and Lone Echo 2 and stuff like that, and the way we both spoke about Shovel Knight, and my love for a game about train management. There's joy in games. There really is. And we're hitting another end of year where uncertainty has reared its ugly head. Lose yourself for hundreds of hours in these games, because what else have we got?
Absolutely. And going back to that thing about not feeling guilty about, taking pleasure in things or enjoying them for a short time and letting them go and coming back to them. However you engage with it all, just do it. Just do it the way that you want. And it's been a great year for, it's not been a great year for AAA games. It's been a very poor year for them because COVID has affected systems more than it has affected individuals when it comes to producing games. So it's been a great time to shine for the indie devs, and they really have. And there's just pluck the ones you like from our list. Even though it's Christmas and a lot of people won't have a lot of money, some of these are effectively free. Some of them, most of them, cost less than a tenner. Treat yourself, fall into it, immerse yourself, and give yourself a Christmas treat.
Yeah, I'll say what I will add. This is $11.39 on Steam. That's working out. It's working out about 10p an hour at the moment for me. Soon I'm going to play enough hours that it'll be paying me.
Yes. Yeah, God, yeah.
It's one of those games. It literally pays for itself.
Yeah.
Because now when I go to a train station, when we're allowed again to do stuff like that, and someone goes, "Oh, trains are delayed," I'll go, "Oh, actually, I think you'll find this is why it happens. I can fix it. Let me in the control room." That how it works?
That's how it works, yeah.
Is there a dispatcher in the house?
Yeah, can you imagine? You run forward with your little bag.
I've done it!
Yeah.
I've played Railroad. No, it's really good, and I hope it does gangbusters for the developers, because they're a nice bunch as well, it seems, and it's different. It's just nice to play a different game that's not something you usually would promote. I can't, I hope it's in a different game of the year list right at the top, but I don't imagine it is, because I don't think it'll get as much attention as it deserves. So,
yeah,
here's your attention. You can put.
Excellent.
Tell you what, right? You can put this on your quote. Railroad is the mental health game of the year 2021. There you go.
Cool.
Sorry, it superseded Metroid Dread, Stu.
Okay, I can live with that.
No other stuff this week. It is, no other stuff this week. We will be back in the new year We haven't got a date for our first one, but it'll be episode 100. We've got something special lined up for that. And then from 101 onwards, it's going to be slight change to formats with some new stuff. We'll tell you about it all in the first episode of 101. So, Stu, shut me up. Take us out. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yes, indeed. So, yeah, just to finish off, just a final reminder that all of our choices were our favourites. We're not saying that they're the best. We're saying that they're the ones that we enjoyed the most out of the ones we played. If you enjoyed them as well, that's great. If you didn't, that's also cool. If there were things that we didn't had on the list that you have on your personal top 10, then that's brilliant. It's great just to promote the fact that there's loads of games out there, except if it's Call of Duty, Warframe, or whatever, because no. But everything is valid. Enjoy games however you want. And with the Christmas period coming up, and sometimes it can be very difficult for people, no matter what their circumstances are, then we hope that they are a little bit of a release, a little bit of way to get away from any difficulty, and also propel you towards nicer things in the new year. And that's all there is really to be said. So today is Christmas on the release, so have a very Merry Christmas, have a great day, stay safe, and stay Santa. See what I did there? Bye.
Yeah, bye.